It was already Tudor. It was expected. Don't tell me you're surprised by this situation, by a dismissal that was already announced. I think I haven't exaggerated, but simply told the truth. In recent days, when they shifted the focus to other things, on October 6th, I made a video with the following title: Igor, be careful, because this is how they make you pay the price. They made him pay. They made him pay before Juventus Udinese on Wednesday, as was right to do, because it made no sense, as I heard yesterday, to say he wasn't at risk until the break. That wasn't the case, because Juventus is Juventus, because Juventus burns through coaches, burns through shirts, burns through pieces, burns through everything. There is never any real peace from this point of view. And yesterday's match, I think, was also significant for understanding the distance in the relationship between the coach and Juventus, a distance that, for those who have followed football for a while, could have been seen live just by observing the attitudes, sending Kostic to warm up, the words that changed, not even memorized, looking elsewhere. A lineup changed every 10 minutes, Komoli's sullen look in the stands with his entire transfer market having gone up in smoke. By the way, it's too easy now to say that they're all useless, but they've been thrown into confusion. I also want to distance myself from those who, perhaps for personal interest, say that the problem isn't Tudor, but rather the management that's absent, that maybe wants to come back to return. Maybe now Tudor has become a non-issue, perhaps because they've played with him and need to protect him. Instead, I believe that in these cases there should be no leniency. Tudor has become a problem. This squad cannot be reduced to these situations under these conditions. In my opinion, they did the right thing by removing him, because there are charges against him, serious ones. From October 6th to October 27th, that is, from the title and the video I made, Tudor was already expected. Now I add, they're presenting him with the bill. Why? Because there's no point in always talking about the ownership issue, since it's clear that the transition from Andrea Agnelli to John Elkann was traumatic. Juve has lost those points of reference it used to have. It has changed people, figures, executives, CEOs, directors, sporting directors. In fact, it doesn't even have a sporting director. Like there, who was celebrated as the savior of the country, he created even more confusion. He wanted to do things his own way. In September, there will be a new board meeting to assign other roles, maybe to figure out the sporting director situation, but they couldn't go on with a coach who had opposed the transfer market, who didn't want Zegrova, who didn't want Colombo either, who wanted a midfielder, who pushed for other solutions, who wouldn't have signed Openda. And then you could see it in how he used the players. So everything was wrong from the start. I mean, if you were going to make that kind of transfer market move, you should have done it from the start with the mindset you had before. Exactly, from the start, you should have changed the coaches or the coach instead of waiting until now, to a situation where Juventus is now basically a sign that says, try again, maybe you'll be luckier next time. Those who say that the blame doesn't fall solely on Tudor are right, but those who argue that since it's not only Tudor's fault, Juve should keep postponing a clear decision despite the huge confusion on the pitch, with a coach who has lost control tactically, with a coach who yesterday said, I don't care about my future, it doesn't matter to me at all. How can you not care at all? Because your future is tied to that of the team, and the team determines your future, and you influence the team with your choices. Yesterday, he did things that are beyond words. From the start and during the match, he changed the formation yet again. He fielded David and Vlahovic. I'm fine with the two strikers, but then he asked David to play almost as an attacking midfielder, and you just can't do that. He played Conceição as a full wing-back, then brought on Yildiz, then changed Cambiaso, then put on McKennie, then changed another one, then brought on Kostic. He did things you simply can't do if you've been given a coaching license, because it creates confusion in a squad that has now become a team of nobodies. So Tudor was already expected, no surprise there. Now let's see if the internal solution, while waiting to decide among the available coaches, you know who they are. There are coaches who have said no to other offers in order to wait for Juventus. There are coaches that, in their original plan, Juventus didn't want to contact, to arrive at next summer with a free hand and choose the coach without being influenced. Now, so what do you have to do now? Either you get a top coach, even if you're not convinced about getting your top preferred choice, or you have to find another solution. I'll keep you updated because I'm recording this video right after it happened. Again, this was something that was announced, and I'm also surprised that many people take it into consideration and turn it into a manifesto. You have to wait for the lack of results because there's a break. So you have to wait for the Udinese match to draw or lose, or for the Cremonese match to draw or lose, and the derby with Torino to do who knows what and make changes during the break. But it's better to just rip off the band-aid. Because in recent years, Juventus has gotten caught up in this issue of relationships between the coach and the players. Relationships that have deteriorated immediately or almost immediately because of the urge to pin the blame on the coach, who certainly has plenty of blame, but instead of taking responsibility like yesterday. Did you hear Locatelli yesterday? But Locatelli is a captain who should act, not talk. He says we have to work. These absurd, meaningless cliches, the same things he said after the last defeat against Como. I mean, the captain is supposed to set an example. This is a captain who costs 40 to 42 million, bonuses included, and he can't be the captain of Juve. Juve has had 7 or 8 captains, as if the captain were, with all due respect, just a doorman and not the owner of the building. Or at least the CEO of the team, the one who sends out messages. But is it possible to change them? 7 or 8 captains? Thiago Motta changed captain every 15 days, and that was one of the unforgivable mistakes. But have my captain speak up when he says things that aren't just things I could say myself. Or things even my trusted gas station attendant could say, like, we need to work harder, enough talking, we need action. It's a disconnected situation, both in terms of leadership, which is lacking, and players who were brought in and cost a fortune but don't have the guts to be Juventus material. And then, besides not having the guts, in my opinion, they also lack technical quality and they cost a ton of money. But from here to saying that this squad, at least from my point of view, is so poor that we should just accept this mediocrity with players who were strong elsewhere, but at Juve they've proven to be weak, misused, overlooked, and in some ways even humiliated. That's an argument that just doesn't hold up. So now, those who played under Tudor and have a microphone in front of them and want to defend Tudor and say the problem isn't Tudor when they had criticized other coaches like Thiago Motta, I don't think that's a logical or intellectually honest argument. The point is that there shouldn't be any double standards. The problem with Juve is at the club level, it's about management, about leadership, but the coach made it worse, complicating some decisions that would have been simple and could have helped get more out of this squad and to give the team at least some semblance of a playing style. It seems simple to me, and that's why, from my point of view, the headline on October 6th was already Tudor expected. We'll definitely catch up again. See you soon.